Alright, welcome back to another Crabby Dice talks through and rants about crowdfunding campaigns, and this time I obviously didn't say Kickstarter because we're looking at ISS Vanguard, which is on Gamefound. Gamefound is just a different platform like Kickstarter that's pretty much owned by Awaken Realms, so obviously they're doing exactly like Hasbro did earlier this year with Hero Quest. They're launching their next game on their own platform for a couple of reasons. Obviously, A, to save money because they don't have to pay a percentage to Kickstarter for having it on their own platform, and B, get more eyes on this platform. Maybe some other companies will jump onto this one because a lot of companies are already using Gamefound for their post closing crowdfunding stuff anyway, so maybe they'll just do their whole project on here. And honestly, if I were to rank all 4 or 5 different crowdfunding sites out there, I think Gamefound is by far the best. It's very similar to Kickstarter, but it has some neat advantages. All right, so before we even talk about the game, I think it's important, let's just talk 2 seconds here about the platform in general, just to give you an overview on why I find it a lot better. I think it's a more of a modern site, being that most of the site is interactable, because as you may know, if you're on Kickstarter, that whole page is just like a picture, and the only thing you can interact with is maybe some videos that are attached to it, or clicking the top right, which is where you have to pledge. All right, this site is a lot better. You can you can actually interact with the stuff inside the page, and it'll do stuff, right? So for example, here, if you want to go to the rewards and you actually click on the rewards, it'll actually show you what's inside the box. So again, if you're on Kickstarter, and if there's 2 sections, one for what's inside the box, another section for the pledge, different pledges, you sort of have to cross-reference the 2 sections to sort of figure out what you're trying to back, and then you got to go to a different section, which is in the top right, to actually click on the pledge that you want. Here, it's all in one place. You can click on it to see what's in the box, and you can pledge also in the same exact area here and just pledge for what you want. All right, so a lot more interactive system, a lot more modern. I like it. So here you have your 2 pledge levels, and we'll talk about the pledge levels later in the video. All right, another neat advantage here is the organization and the access to information. You have your table of contents. This to me is a godsend. I mean, if I want to see the stretch goals, I can just click stretch goals and it'll bring me to the stretch goals. I can't tell you how much of a nightmare it is in a regular Kickstarter page to try to find the stretch goal. Sometimes it's at the top, sometimes it's in the middle of the page, sometimes it's all the way at the end, and there's no organization. You just have to scroll through the whole thing just to see where it is, because sometimes the stretch goal word is a picture and you can't even search for it. It's just a nightmare. All right, so this is a definite must for Kickstarter going forward. They do need a table of contents section. And the last thing I do want to mention here, which is a benefit for me, because you can do a lot of searching here, but in the comment section you can actually search for tags and search for certain things. I know Kickstarter has this comment section, but you can't really search it that well or that easily. Right here, if I want to see anything that's Canadian shipping related, I just click on it, and look at that. I have all the stuff that's tagged Canadian shipping, because for me it's important because I'm in Canada, and this is a great thing. So here you go, there's a note that they're actually going to lower our shipping as we go. So overall, I mean, it's not a game changer. Most of the page is exactly like a Kickstarter page. It's you have your projects tab, your comments tab, your fact tab, your updates tab, just like a regular Kickstarter page would. I mean, you all have the information on the page just like a regular Kickstarter, but there are some benefits here. So even if this doesn't attract a ton of other companies to come over because they're a little scared because everyone already uses Kickstarter, at least maybe it'll push Kickstarter to maybe make changes to their website, which will be a good thing, because Kickstarter has pretty much been stagnant now for like 3-4 years. They have not made any improvements whatsoever, because why would they if they have no competitors? All right, so at least this is a decent competitor, and maybe they'll actually work on making their page better. All right, so now let's talk about the campaign. Alright, actually before we start, I did forget to mention at the top, if you've not watched one of my videos before, this is a 100% my subjective take on the campaigns. We're going to look at the value, the future value, the gameplay, and all that juicy stuff. Alright, so let's get started. I think I'm going to talk about the value first, because I don't think this is debatable at all. It's going to be really positive. If you've backed anything Awaken Realms in the past, what you get in the box is just incredible amounts of stuff for the money you're going to be putting in. All right, and then after we'll come back and talk about the gameplay, which is sort of a mixed bag. Again, knowing Awaken Realms, you're gonna get some good stuff and some bad things. Okay, so for this one, let's look at what you're gonna get for your money for what's in the box here. It's going to be $99 or $179. There's only 2 pledge levels, surprisingly. There'll probably be more by the time this is over. It's actually really surprising that there's no big box add-ons just yet. There's still 10 days to go, so they can add them. I can almost guarantee at least one coming out. But this is what we have to work with, so let's get to it. You should have also received a $5 discount credit email if you've ever done anything on Gamefound before, so that's cool. $5 discount, that's nice. So again, what's in the box? Let's just highlight some of the awesome components that you're gonna get for just $95. You're gonna get over 1,000 cards, over 80 dice. You're gonna get 8 different minis. You're gonna get 3 massive books. You're gonna get a ship, a binder. I mean, we're gonna go through this. You're just gonna get a ton of content. All right, you get the ship binder, which is sort of a campaign progress book to slide in your cards and to track different things as your campaign moves along. You're going to get the lander sheets, which are your ships. You're going to get the dials to track your resources on the ship. You're going to get special dice, a lot of custom dice in this game. The Galactopedia is a thick book with different solar system stats where you're going to be visiting throughout the solar system. For each character class, you're going to get the 2 minis like I mentioned before. You are going to get dual layer boards, which is awesome in any game. I love dual layer boards. Although in this game, kind of superfluous because it doesn't really matter where these dice slot in here. It's just a nice to have. Usually you want dual layer boards in games where it actually matters where the resources are on your board because they actually track different things. Here the order doesn't matter, and I don't even think they need to be in this column. You can just group them all together. But anyway, it's just a nice to have, so it's good. So just a lot of stuff you get per character class. Again, a ton of different dice, so as you level up your character, or different characters will have different set of these dice, so you got to go pick the ones you need, and they're all really customized, so that's a nice thing to have. You are going to get a large, almost 50-page book, Planetopedia. This is almost like the Gloomhaven Jaws of a Lion thing, where you're actually playing the game, the actual game, on this binder book. So that's cool. Oh, I do have to mention this. You are also going to get the app for free, which is surprising because usually those foreteller app things in other campaigns, you usually have to pay $5, $10, $15, $20 extra, whatever, just to gain access to that stuff. So this is going to be free thrown in, and the quality of that app is really good. You get really good voice work, you get good sound effects in the background, ambient noise and all that stuff. Really, really good stuff. They did a good job on that app if you watched any of the demos that came out. And then you get a ton of cards. I already mentioned 1,000 cards, an organizational unit. And this is just the base game. I mean, like I mentioned at the top, you're going to get this box with all this stuff plus another stretch hole box, and, you know, Awaken Realms. That stretch hole box is full of stuff. So Lords of Hellas, Nemesis, Tainted Grail, Ether Fields. That stretch hole box has as much stuff as the main game, so you're gonna get a ton of things in that box. So, you know, it doesn't take a genius to realize that the value you get per stuff in the box is kind of ridiculous and just really, really high. You know what? While we're here, let's just talk about the other stretch goal level that you can get. For $80 more, which is really expensive. Keep that in mind. It's $80. It's almost twice the cost of the game. So the game's going to cost $95. It's going to be $80 just to get the minis for the game. And you're going to get 32 plus minis. Let's just say 35 to 40 different minis. Now, if you know Awaken Realms and if you've backed Tainted Grail or Ether Fields, those minis are completely superfluous to the game. You do not need them. In my opinion, I would never get minis if they ever give me an option to get minis or not in their games, because they don't need them. All right, if you want to be a completionist or if you want to really pimp out your game, then I would suggest go get the minis. But for $80, it's really expensive. Just to give you an idea, you can get 7 Citadel plus this base game for the same price of this game plus the minis, right? So it is kind of a pretty penny. Keep in mind though that their renders, all right, these are not the finished product. Their renders are really cool. Their minis have been getting better over the years. I remember Lords of Hellas that I backed, they were sort of on the iffy side, but every single campaign they've been getting better and better and better. Now we're getting these awesome minis that have these really cool sci-fi shield, octagonal see-through shield plate things here. These are awesome. I really love the work that they did here. Really gives it a cool sci-fi look. And I mean, most of these minis, again, they're just superfluous. They're just gonna track different things on the board. You don't really need them. Just give you an idea here. These landers, you're gonna get a bunch of landers, but you know, these things are just gonna track where your starting location is on that board, right? And they're never gonna move. So whether it's this or a token, is it gonna change your gameplay? Not at all. Not a little bit. But you know what? If you really do want to pimp out your game and have their ships and paint them up, go for it. I bet you'll have fun. Again, keep in mind these are renders. This guy's limbs are kind of thin. I don't know if this guy's gonna end up this way. He's a cool looking model, but it's gonna be difficult to have him come out this way. But the models do look great overall. I do love this mom model. All right, so in my opinion, for value, I would definitely get the base game if you're into it, and not get the minis if you don't want to pay the $80. It is really on the expensive side. The only last thing to talk about value are the add-ons. Again, surprising, like I mentioned earlier, there's no big box add-ons yet. I already know for sure at least one, if not two, are going to come out by the time this campaign's over. It always happens this way. But for right now, these are the only two we can talk about. Galactic Almanacs, don't get this. This is just pictures and stuff. This never holds long-term value. I mean, add it on if you want to get some pretty pictures, but I would never get it. What I would definitely do is always get the gameplay add-on. So this is the personnel files expansion. I would definitely get this. It's gonna be 90 more cards to choose from to add variety when you level up your character. This is almost a must. So it's gonna be $95 plus 15. So overall, it'll be 110 bucks if you get the base game. So still very reasonable, really worth the cost. And this just adds a bunch more variety. So, you know, I'm not going to beat around the bush. The value is really high. If you want to talk about long-term value, it should definitely hold its value just because how much stuff is in the box, and their games tend to be good. Now, the caveat to all that is Ether Fields, Tainted Grail, Nemesis, Lords of Hellas are all highly regarded, great games. Ether Fields, sort of mixed bag at this point. It's getting a lot of negative press. So that one, I don't know if it's going to hold its value, but this one looks like a much better game than Ether Fields was. That one's kind of a mess, but this one should definitely hold its value if it's anything like Tainted Grail. All right, so let's go on to talk about the gameplay. All right, for the gameplay, I'm going to give you a broad overview of the game. I should have mentioned it at the top. Actually, it's a mix between Star Trek, the game, where you're going to be doing a ton of exploring, and that's the heart of the game. While you're on the planets, you're going to be going to points of interest, exploring, trying to find life and all that stuff. But you also have a full XCOM management base system, which is actually your ship, called ISS Vanguard, and you have this robust management system thrown in the mix. So you're going to be moving from management system to actual gameplay, and then back and forth until you finish the campaign. So every time you finish a campaign, you'll go back to your ship, you're going to do some management, and then you're going to jump on to the next mission that you want to go on. So almost think like Kingdom Death Monster or Gloomhaven, where you sort of have that sort of interlude between the missions, right? So for all the management stuff, it all deals with this ship of binder you have, and I'm going to talk about this first because I don't see any drawbacks to this system. I actually love this management system. I mean, XCOM is probably my favorite computer game of all time. I just love doing that whole management system thing, doing the civilization management system of the cities. SimCity, same thing, micromanaging certain aspects of the game, and I just love doing that, and this part of the game is just doing that, and I just love it. There's some added benefits to all this. There's no rules overhead whatsoever. All the rules are thrown into the pages themselves, so you just read all the stuff that's on the pages, and it'll teach you what you have to do for every single phase of the ship. And it's not really that complicated, just going from sheet to sheet, just tracking certain things, what you collected on the missions, who's getting who's in training, who's injured, and who's in the med bay, all the ships that you've unlocked, all the supplies that you have. It's just a management system. I just really like it. It's also the probably best save system to any campaign game ever. All right, this goes for Kingdom Death, Gloomhaven, you know, name a campaign game. This binder is now a must for every campaign game going forward. It's just amazing way to track your game. Everything in your campaign is in that binder. All right, so all the planets that you visited, you know, if you visit the planet again, the cards are going to be stored in a specific slot. You just take them out, you put them back on the game board. everything you've discovered, all your characters upgrades, everything is in this binder. It's really good. The only thing it's not tracking is your actual decks of cards of your characters and all that, but that's going to be in your little tuck boxes that you're going to pull out after every mission, Gloomhaven style. So this is a perfect system. I really like it. You know, somebody can write down below if they have any issues with it. I don't see any really. I just see a lot of positives here. So that's all good. Now we're going to talk about the actual gameplay of the game. All right, well, where to even start with the main game components here? I mean, all right, let's just talk about the main mechanism, and this is where it's going to either lose you or you're going to be excited. It is a 100% pure dice chucking, push your luck game. All right, so every action you want to do on your turn, you have 2 actions per turn. Every action you're going to do is you get to choose how many dice you're going to roll, and you're going to be rolling them to either hit certain faces or not hit other faces. All right, so depending on what you're doing, it might be a bit different. Now, this is either going to excite you or not. Personally, to me, this is a garbage system, and I absolutely hate it. I don't know what else to say about it. You're either gonna like it or it's not gonna bother you. I just don't like push your luck dice systems in general in most games. I feel like this is gonna be more of a Tales of Arabian Nights type of thing where, you know, you can just make decisions and roll dice and bad things are just randomly gonna happen. You can say, I'm gonna roll 4 dice, even try to get 2 symbols, but it can be complete luck that you fail and then some random event's gonna happen. So it's like almost like a lot of randomness is just going to be influencing the game, even though you have some push your luck stuff with the cards and some mitigation stuff with the cards and stuff, but you're going to be running out of cards at a certain point. I mean, you're going to be, you know, you're not going to hit every single dice roll. You're going to be using those cards early and often. You're going to be using your supplies, and then late in the mission there's going to be a lot of like just rolling and hoping that things are going to go your way, and that's just going to bother me to no end. All right, there's just a lot of randomness as well. Again, not only because of the dice, there's a lot of events that are going to be happening while you're on these planets and so on that will be affecting your game. You can have your whole party die while you're on the planet just based on luck near the end of the mission. If you're rolling really badly, the planet volcano can go off, and then all of a sudden all your guys died and you have to make new characters, right? So stuff like that is just going to drive me absolutely insane. All right, so that's just the main mechanism. But, you know, the core concept of the game is exploration, and I think this game is gonna live or die on the vine if the story and the exploration is rock solid and you really want to know what's happening in the story. Because I mean, it's not rocket science. These major campaign games, they hold people's interest in one of 2 ways. All right, the first way is the gameplay is just rock solid. So think Gloomhaven, Frosthaven, Madara. People want to play the game. So that's why they come back. They don't care about the story. Gloomhaven's story is complete bullshit, alright? It's garbage, but you keep coming back because the gameplay is just that good and the leveling up system is good, right? The gameplay. Alright, or the second bucket is people want to come back to certain games to figure out what's happening in the story. The story is keeping them engaged. You're exploring, you want to know what's happening, even though the gameplay mechanisms might suck. Alright, you know, perfect example of that is Tainted Grail. To me, Tainted Grail, the storyline was great. You're engaged in the story. You want to know what's happening. The writing was beautiful, but the gameplay, I didn't personally like it. You're just matching cards. It's taking a while to do. You have to min-max your thing a little bit, but it kept people coming back because of the whole storyline, which is good. So hopefully this game will fall more into that second bucket, and even though the gameplay, in my opinion, isn't great, it'll keep coming back because the exploration's amazing. You know, new surprises are happening all the time. It'll keep you engaged and so on and so on. You know, case in point, I mean, Ether Fields right now, it's getting absolutely hammered by all the reviewers because A, the story sucks, B, the gameplay is just awful. All right, so you know, if you're not hitting any of those 2 buckets, nobody's gonna want to play your game. All right, even though some reviewers might have liked it. I'm not gonna say all the reviewers, but most of them are just trashing it for the gameplay is garbage and the story is not holding people's interest. So people are just gonna abandon the game, and it's gonna lose its value, and so on and so on. So hopefully this can sort of marry the 2 and holds people interest. Now, I'm not going to say that it's all bad. There are some things I really like about this whole system. There's the whole card play. That's all dice mitigation. A lot of it is with some added bonuses as well. So that's a great system that they introduced for the whole dice mitigation, because even without those cards, I would have called this game complete bullshit. At least with those cards, you know, you do have some mitigation. It'll keep you interested, and you can sort of push your luck a bit more because you do have those cards. All right, I do also love the timing system that they have on each planet. It is really intertwined with the planets. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, is you do have missions and there's a timer on the planets, but every single timer, when it hits the end, you flip it over and something really unique tied to that planet is going to happen. So it's not like really random, it's really tied to that planet, just like that volcano that I was talking about. But I really like that. It's really cinematic and it's all tied into that planet that you're on. So that's a great system. I do sort of also like the Metroidvania aspect of the game as well. There's reasons to come back to a planet. Now, as a caveat though, for that one, Tainted Grail though, it is a mixed bag. They seem to have a problem with that whole aspect of the game. They had that problem with Ether Fields and Tainted Grail, where you have to redo the same sort of thing over and over again, and they didn't strike the right balance, especially in Ether Fields. So hopefully in this game they strike the right balance, because I don't want to redo the same missions 4 or 5 times for no goddamn reason and make it a grind. I don't want a grind game at all. I'm not into grinding. That's not good. So, you know, overall, you know, if we want to recap the whole campaign here, the value is insane. The whole management XCOM part of the game is really good. I do love the exploration part when you're on the planet. That's really good. It's just the dice system I'm not a fan of. I don't like it. I'm probably gonna have to house rule some things, you know, rolling a die and getting an X on moving. Just a really bad system, but hopefully it'll hold people's interest. So those are my thoughts overall. I am probably gonna back it. I wasn't going to originally because the shipping to Canada was just really bad. $63, which is the most in the world. All right, but there was an update where they're gonna lower this substantially, hopefully to 55, $50. If not, I'll maybe just get the single wave shipping here. But what I would say is, if the game has any interest to you whatsoever, my advice to you is pledge at least $5. It'll give you access to the pledge manager, where you can actually wait until wave 2, because they're gonna send out wave 1, and then they always reopen their pledges in between wave 1 and wave 2. And you know what, if it's a hit and all the reviewers like it and then you're interested in the game, guess what? Because you pledged $5, the pledge manager is going to be open to you. You can go in, get the base game, get all the stretch goals that you want, and then you'll get it for wave 2, and you're not forced to pay for now for a wave 1 thing. So that's one of the awesome things about Awakened Realms that I really like. Just, you know, put in $5, you'll get access to their pledge manager, and you'll definitely get access to it between wave 1 and wave 2, sort of type of thing, instead of having to piggyback off somebody else that already pledged for the game. All right, so those are my overall thoughts. Let me know below if the value, gameplay stuff interests you, if you're gonna back it, and all that stuff. All right, so that's my thoughts. We'll see you in the next one. Later.